Hey guys, Dan here.
And Frank Godzilla Island from the
And
Mazer Squad, and we got some great guests here today from Territory and Monster Matador. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Hey, what's up? My name is Steve Prince. I am the writer and creator of Monster Matador.
And I'm Blake McCarthy, and I'm the writer and creator of Territory.
yeah,
Yeah,
and if you guys have been watching us for a while, you guys should be familiar with both of these series. It's a something we've been following for a few years now. So super excited to talk to you guys again.
yeah. I mean, we have Blake on a couple of times. We had Steven on for Blood of the Matador. No, not Blood of the Matador. Once Upon Some Monsters in Mexico. I think the finale is the last time we had you on, and we miss you for the last two Matadores and Blood of the Matador 1. We actually haven't got to even. I don't even think we got to review those on the channel just yet because Dan was kind of on his paternity leave, so we had our little summer hiatus there.
Yeah,
Excuses, man, excuses.
No, it's all good though. I mean, we record so much that it's just it just keeps coming.
Yeah.
But we're definitely gonna talk about those two comics. So, and but the campaigns are live. Everyone, we have Monster Matador, Blood of the Matador 1 to 2, live now. Day 2 right now when this records. This is gonna be up tomorrow. I'm pretty sure. So we'll be on day 3. And Blake too, day 2 for you as well. You're doing great. Yeah, Blake, your series is complete. Territory. You have the trade paperback. And Steve, this how many issues is this arc going to be? Is it going to be 3 issues?
Four.
4 issues.
Four
Okay,
issues.
4
Yeah.
issues. So this is like the mid-season right now. This issue. So.
Yeah.
We were lucky enough to get a preview issue of it. And this is gonna be some epic finale to this 4-parter here.
Yeah.
It's like end game levels. I feel like here it's just like
Yeah, this has been kind of like the thing I've been kind of building up to, you know.
oh yeah.
And the next issue gets crazy, and then the fourth issue just like doubles down on it. So it's gonna be fun. It'll be fun.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and then yeah, you go Dan. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say I'm like the just reading the issues, following the whole series. You've stuck with the same artist, same colorist, the entire time, and just to see the progression of the art, while it's always been good, I don't think it's ever been better than Blood
Yeah,
of the Matador. It's crazy
yeah.
how
I've been lucky.
just how good the art is in this.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been like it's just I was like blown back. Just
Every every time I talk to Fabio, he's always like, "Oh, that last issue was terrible. I'll do better next." He's constantly pushing himself. But it what's nice is both Fabio and Alex, who's our colorist, they love the book and they love the character, and they really put everything into it, and they're very excited to work on the book, which is great, and I think it shows in the final product.
yeah.
Um, so
Oh yeah, and I mean we even had we threw up the unboxing of the last campaign's rewards, and somebody commented on the video. They're like, "This is like better than DC and Marvel art that we're seeing in comics right now. Like this is like some high quality art that we're
yeah,
not
yeah,
seeing in comics very often
yeah,
anymore."
yeah. I mean, there's so much competition, that
Yeah,
you really got to put your best foot forward. And I think, and Blake's book too. I forget the
yeah,
artist's name. Is
yeah, yeah.
it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean that's the
And
great
it's
thing
yeah,
about the indie comics is like these are smaller projects and like a lot. I feel like a lot more love and passion goes into these than some of the mainstream comics nowadays.
yeah, and also I think for a lot of us, I don't know about. I don't want to speak for Blake, but I know for a lot of us, it's become a choice to go to Kickstarter through crowdfunding.
Yeah,
And so yeah, you're seeing a lot of really great talent. Um,
Def- Definitely. Well, and I think, kind of to your point, like the choice going to Kickstarter and the choices it allows you to have. Like if
right.
you're, if you're the one in charge of the book and you're not answering to anyone. Like, you can find those artists that you're a fan of,
Mm-hmm.
that, to Steve's point, are passionate about the book, passionate about the characters. I started with Chris Sassman, who is great, and then Donnie Hadiwa Jaja
Right.
came in for the last two issues, and same thing, he's just super, super enthusiastic about it, was excited to be a part of it, was excited about the characters, and, wanted to talk and get more. And it's also, it's not like you have these established characters. So the artists kind of, I think, get to put, their touch on it. They get to really create and invest in these characters, and be the ones that create them, and give them, all of their personality and all their traits and stuff. And so I think you see a lot of that coming through in indie comics, where it's, not just the writers and the creators, but the artists who are getting to really express themselves fully, no restraints. And it comes through. I mean, you see that passion, you see that excitement. It makes for great books.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's really cool about like both of your sources, they're sort of both like post-apocalyptic. Like Blake, yours Territory is like so set way in the future, to the point where like humans almost like don't remember airplanes.
Yeah.
And then Steve, yours is like pretty like what
I
is
always say it's like
the time period for
it's Mad Max bumping up against Road Warrior.
Yeah, it's
not,
like very close against that.
Yeah. And it's cool. It's interesting, like, because you think about kaiju, I think people are so used to just Godzilla going through a city.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see all these different takes. There's cowboys and kaijus too.
Yes.
But I mean,
yes.
like Territory is such an interesting one too,
Yeah.
because I never thought about that. You're like, like a tribe that actually worships these monsters, and you go, it's one of those things like a matador that fights. You go, oh yeah, that's pretty. Not obvious, but you go, oh, why didn't anyone else come up with that? It's. I remember reading that description, being like, oh shit, that's.
Yeah.
So, and that's a nice thing too about, again, crowdfunding and Kickstarter, is that a lot of these ideas have a hard time getting into like the mainstream market, because publishers don't really have the budgets or the space to take a chance on stuff like that. What you're seeing a lot now in like the direct market is like, it's G.I. Joe, it's stuff that's like McDonald's, because that's and there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? It sells, and the margins are so thin that they don't have the appetite for risk that they used to have. So you're seeing a lot of books like ours on Kickstarter in the crowdfunding space, which are taking those risks that you don't usually see in the mainstream.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's been so cool. Like I know, like we were talking earlier. I mean, Steven's backed now 500 different indie projects. I just hit my 100 today, actually, and like it's just like so cool. Like the different like comics and stories, like you wouldn't find these anywhere else. Like the mainstream, like there's I like a lot of mainstream, but it's just not the same. Like there's a lot of like original, like wow, this is like really cool. Like it's refreshing to read like an indie series, because like I said earlier, a lot of love goes into it, and there's nothing that compares.
Totally. Well, and to Steven's point, I feel like Kickstarter and the indie scene, it is very, like, it's all very idea driven. And again, you've got that freedom where if you've got a good idea and you're, willing to put in the work, you can make it happen. So it doesn't have to fit in those sort of boxes like he's talking about that you're seeing in the mainstream. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like if you just read through Kickstarter, that's what I think. There's so many just eye-catching ideas that it's not like, you look at just like at a shop or whatever, and it's there's cool stuff, but a lot of it does feel very similar. And here you can read something that's, you're like, wow, that's a really interesting idea. That's not something I've seen before or thought of before, and so you want to check it out. And I think that that freedom of ideas and that sort of kind of marketplace of ideas that Kickstarter is really cool. And then the community is built up around it. I mean, you guys talking about like 500 projects is a crazy number, but it's because there are people that are passionate, that are invested in the community, that want to help each other out. Like there's no real creators on Kickstarter that that I know that are like they put their books out, that's it. They don't talk to anyone else, they don't invest in anyone else. Like everyone, there is reading each other's stuff, encouraging each other, working with each other. And so not only do you have all these cool, unique ideas from all these different sources, but you also have this community that's very supportive and works together and helps each other. And that, makes everyone's work better. It's not a competition so much as sort of a collaborative effort to just push it forward as a whole. And I think that is really cool. As someone that wasn't part of anything creative before I started Territory, like that has been one of my favorite parts, is just like, oh, there's this community of other, cool, creative people with all these ideas, but it's, they're not just out for their own ideas or for themselves. They're there to help everyone else, to encourage and support each other. And that comes through, and doing, and, like we've got a cross promotion going, you see that in a lot of books, and, or even if it's not, something where it's that direct, but people are, pushing each other in updates or on social media and stuff like that. And there's always that sort of encouragement going on, which I think is great. And it helps keep the momentum going.
Yeah. And like you said, the community is a big part, but while you mentioned, the cross promotion is really cool, because that's why we've got both of you guys on the show. If you backers pick up Monster Matador and Territory, there's going to be a special trading card of that print right behind me and Dan. Really cool, of the Matador and the Great Horn. Absolutely sick piece.
I love that.
Yes. It's such a cool picture. And like, if I was gonna pick a character from like each universe of crossover, I would have to say the Matador would probably be the one to come into Territory. Like, I don't know how Alkio would fare in, like, Matador world with all the guns and the bandits. Like, she has to deal with a lot of, like, people towards the back end with all of Hostess tribe and everything. But, like, he's got, like, the rocket launcher. But, like, for the most part, everybody else has, like, pretty primitive weapons. And, like, I don't think her bow's gonna stand much of a chance against all the guns in Matador.
She can Hawkeye it. Matador's got a sword.
Yeah, he's got
that's true. That is true. But she's not familiar with the.
She wouldn't like the conflict.
It's technically not modern day because it's technically in the past. But like,
she'd be like, this Nacho Lobo stuff. We gotta squash this beef. We can't be fighting wars over here.
I think that's part of what makes the Matador such a cool character. Is he's kind of this like 80s style action hero where like you can throw him into any scenario situation, it doesn't matter, he's just gonna figure it out. And so that's the thing, like any world or universe or whatever that you want to throw him into, like he's gonna be able to put up a fight. And that, I think that's really cool. And it was cool to see, like I really like that print. Alex Alcantar was the artist. I thought he did a great job with it. And it's cool to see, like seeing the characters kind of cross over was like it made me excited then. I'm glad that we can bring it back, because it's just really cool to see. And I think our books have always been kind of running alongside each other. There's always been like you guys said, the settings have some similarities, the themes, all that. So it's cool to see it literally brought together.
I think because we met each other. I don't know if it was your first or second issue, just doing a cross promo.
Yeah, one of the early ones, I don't remember either.
One of them. Yeah, we just happened to. It's a weird thing about Kickstarters. It is a very like tight creator community, but no one ever talks about when they're launching a book. No one's ever like, oh hey, I'm doing. Like it's always last minute, and not necessarily last minute, but like it's always like. I'm always like, oh, so and so is launching a book right now. Why did I reach out? You know what I mean? Like it's always because like as a creator, you're literally doing everything. You have to make the page, which takes hours.
Oh yeah,
hours.
I've heard it's like very laboring to do a Kickstarter.
And by the time you put everything together, then you're focused on just getting pre-launch, and then you launch, and you're like, oh shoot, I should have. But then you kind of go on there, and you're like, oh, Blake's on there too, or so and so is on there. So it always just kind of somehow works out. But that's always the thing that always I laugh about, is that as much as we communicate, we never communicate about when we're actually launching our books, because we're always just so knee deep in actually trying to get everything ready.
I'm amazed at how you guys do it. I mean, you guys do such a great job. I mean, like Steve, I always call you like the master of like Kickstarter fulfillment. Like your turnaround time is absolutely insane to me. Sometimes I'm like, this thing just wrapped up. I feel like, and it's like here.
Yeah, I want them out. I hate that like thing of having like that thing of hanging over my head of like, oh, I gotta get all these books out. I gotta get all these books out. And I'm fortunate that we're able, to have the books actually done by the time.
No,
that's not always the case for everyone, but
no, it's really cool.
Usually I back a project and I'm like, I'll see that in 6 to 12 months.
Which is fine.
Part of it,
it's just fine if that's
Yeah,
what the
part
timeline
of it's
is.
just been like so since we started, it's been the same team, and part of that has been working ahead with Fabio as he has spots in his schedule or he needs, a project or something that I'm there and trying to fill it. So, like one of the reasons why we've been doing them, I think like 3 a year it's been lately is just because I've actually been sitting on issues. He's like literally, I think he's 2 pages away from finishing issue 3.
Oh, wow.
All right. Nice.
Yeah, and then he's going to start 4. So I need to get the issues out because I need to make the money.
Yeah.
So,
it makes sense.
It just all goes. It all flows back to him.
Yeah.
Well, that's one interesting thing about this campaign, because I've had both where I think I had my first couple, it was like all done, which was great, and then I had a couple where it was like, okay, let's try to do it halfway, which is great. But to your point, Steve, like having at that point waiting, and then like you don't want to rush anybody, you want to make sure it comes good, but you're also like, well,
exactly.
now I have all this money, I've promised this to all these people, and and like you guys said, like most backers when they back it, like they're not they know how Kickstarter works. They're not expecting it right away. But as a creator, you don't, even though that, you don't feel it. You're like, we like, all right, we sold it, we did it, we finished it. Now we got to deliver. And so
it never ends.
Exactly. Yeah. So every day that you're waiting on something, you're just kind of like, man, like, it's just, you just feel like those backers are thinking about it, and it is very stressful. Yeah. So, and like you guys said, I mean, Steve, your efficiency and the way you've got it all mapped out is great. Yeah. Doing the trade, that has definitely been one nice thing, and why this campaign has been one of the least stressful ones is that I'm not waiting on anything. It was one cover which was done a year ago, and
really?
Else.
Yeah, I actually had a question about it. Continue.
Yeah. The cover was done a little bit ago. We can get into that, but just having it all like ready and done, and just being like, okay, we'll put it up, we'll do it. Once we get the money, we'll send it to the printer, we'll print it, and then we'll ship it out. And then like that is an amazing feeling. And definitely, I think when you can get to that point, and to your side, if you can even get ahead of it, like if you can, there's that financial part. You got to be able to pay the upfront cost to hold you over until it comes in, but. Once you can get there, it definitely, reduces the stress of the campaign a lot. But there's always some stress, but so every little thing helps.
Yeah, I was reading on your page, Stephen, like you said, like all the extra funds for your campaigns, they just go towards the next issue. So like
there's nothing extra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man,
it's a nice thought.
But going back to that, I'll tell you part of also the impetus for that was because we were doing it. I think you were too, Blake, but we were doing it during COVID, and I didn't know. No one knew if we were going to be around. In 6 months or whatever. But Fabio lives in Brazil, and during that time there was a lot of crazy political stuff happening, and he would just disappear for a month or two.
Oh man.
And like I think one time he had COVID,
It could take you out really bad. Yeah,
I know. COVID's so weird.
I have a friend who he draws books for, and we were like, we didn't know if he was alive or dead or anything, and we were just like, and I think he had like 5 pages left of Apocalypse or something. I was like, he's got to finish the book.
Yeah, that happened in the school district where I worked. One of the principals just disappeared, like in the middle of COVID, like because everyone was remote home, and I think it was during the summer. They just like lost contact with the guy, and they were like, and then he just got really sick.
Yeah. So it was kind of wild. So
it was a crazy time. And it feels like just yesterday, but like some people nowadays, it's like they forgot already. Like
it's like it was like 20 years ago. For some people. But no, it was literally like a year and a half ago.
It's weird. Ago. I had it in September, and if I didn't take a test, I would have never known. But then the time prior, it was like a month of like I had to sit upright, like 90 degrees in a chair. And I'm always like, wow. It was like a month of me like, should I go to the hospital? Am I okay? I think I'm going to be okay. And that was like a month. And I'm like, it was flip a coin, it's so like flip a coiny. It really was just wild times. But I did want to circle back to the cover for the trade paperback. This time with artist Fellhound, which has a really nice, like, I want to say like modern anime style. How did you come upon her work and decide like, oh, this is who I want to do for my trade cover?
Definitely. So I've been a fan of her stuff for multiple years now. I have, the fun thing about Territory, as you guys know, every issue pick a couple artists that I'm a fan of, I want to work with.
Yep.
And I've been lucky to work with some great artists. Some artists who I learned about kind of through the indie comics community, some who have done like the bigger official stuff, all of that. So it's been a really cool range. Like I've just loved her stuff. She did the Commander Rao book. I'm not sure if any of you guys are familiar with that. She did that probably 3 or so years ago now, I want to say. And her style, like immediately, and her style is so good at, like you said, it's got this sort of modern anime feel, but it has this like sort of grittiness, but also a beauty to it. And the characters look tough. They look, serious. They look resilient, but they still have sort of this, kind of like beautiful sort of finesse, like kind of feel to them. And so she's been on the short list of people I've wanted to do for a while. And I actually initially reached out to her to do one for the 5th issue, and we kind of agreed on it, but then it was very early in the process. And I think it was like 6 months before I actually started having people work on the art. And then at that point, her schedule had filled up, so she wasn't able to do it for the 5th issue. But I knew that she was someone that I really wanted to do. And this was kind of, the last opportunity to do it. So reached out to her again, reached out to her early and basically said, hey, whenever you can do this, do it. And then I'll just, hold on to it until we're ready to put the trade out. And so she had time in her schedule, and she did it, and it turned out amazing. Her style was such a perfect fit for Alkia that I really, really, really wanted to make sure that she had a chance to draw Alkia and to do a cover. And so glad that we were able to make it work. And it's cool that she gets to do the final one, because it is kind of it's interesting, because I feel like this cover has a lot in common with sort of the original cover, just sort of with Alkia front and center, sort of the great horn in the background, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a cool almost homage to it, while also really bringing this kind of cool like feel to it that feels really unique and impactful for the completed edition, the trade.
It's really quite, and I love the lighter color palette that she used. Just like the white with the red, and with it matching with the Alkia's face paint.
The colors
just really, and she looks super strong too.
Yes,
and it's like a really like, it's like something you'd see on a shelf. Like it's very.
It reminds me of like Miyazaki or something, like
definitely,
and just like the strength of the character and everything. It's a beautiful, beautiful cover. Yeah,
and it's been cool. Again, being a fan of her stuff, like she had. She's been doing some indie stuff for multiple years, and she has her own stuff that she's been doing, which is starting to get some success and be published. And she's worked on a couple of other published things. So it's been cool to see her, get that success. And that's why it was also a thing of like, she's obviously, on the way up, and well deservedly so. And so, really wanted her to be a part of this. And she was great to work with. She was super helpful. It's a bummer we couldn't make it work the first time, but it was super cool. It was super easy to work with, and was glad we were able to get it done.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then, you
You
go.
keep going. You going.
We've had a couple people do trades on the show. Some, whether we've interviewed them or we messaged them privately, some have had like a really hard time like formatting the whole book to go all together. It's not just slapping 4 issues together, 4 issues together and printing it out. There is a lot of work with it. How is it with you trying to put this trade together? I know there's a lot of extra pages and artwork, and you're doing the cover gallery in there. How has that been, putting that all together?
Good. So I'm still working on it, to be completely honest with you.
Oh yeah, no,
a learning process. But it is cool, and it's cool. I think it's nice again because with each issue you're so focused on getting all the art and you kind of go through and edit everything, and there's all these little changes and all that. And so by the time you have all that done, like you're just ready to kind of get it out there. You're like, we're done. We've tinkered with it. We're ready. Now that's all done already. You don't have to necessarily worry about that, and so you can really kind of think about, okay, how can we show this story in sort of the best way possible. And the nice thing is, so my brother's actually he does the campaign designs. He's done the like designs for the front covers, back covers, interior covers, all that. So he does a lot of cool stuff. And so he kind of, along the way, he created this aesthetic for the books themselves, not just the world, but the actual books themselves with, the tribal logos on sort of the black background and all this kind of stuff. And so it's going to translate really well to a trade where like for each, on the back cover of each book, there's a different tribal logo until the last one. There's nothing to kind of show, the sort of losing the faith and getting away from all that. And so using like those sort of back covers, those symbols as sort of the breaks between the books works really well. It's clean, it's simple, but it's powerful. And then he's already sort of developed this aesthetic for, again, sort of the credits pages and stuff. And then, after that, and this was something I actually talked to Steve a lot about, is putting a trade together, just figuring out what you want to include and how to make it feel, obviously people are buying it for the story, but you want to make sure that there's other stuff in there too, and they feel like it's worth buying that. If they already have the issues or something, you want to make sure they feel like they're getting something with the trade. And so the covers, again, just getting to work with all those artists, really getting to showcase that art. We'll be doing like the virgin covers where it's just the art without the titles for a lot of those. And then the behind the scenes stuff, I've just always personally loved that. I love seeing how things are made, especially comics. And so getting to include some of that, again, just kind of makes it feel, like there's a little bit more to it and you're getting something outside of just the story. So it's been cool to kind of think about, what's really important to Territory, what's really important to the people who, not only are going to be reading this for the first time, but who have read this and want this really nice collected edition. How do we make that, worth it for them? And those are kind of the things that we settled on. And so it's definitely been, again, a learning process. Like every step of this always is, you're always kind of like, oh, okay, I hadn't thought about that. And you kind of figure it out. But I'm really excited to be able to see it and to hold it and to flip through it and to see it just really all in one package.
Yeah, no, it's definitely gonna be exciting, and it's definitely gonna probably be like my fourth or fifth reread of the series.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, the how it's made and like sort of like the process pages are always such a cool little addition to comics, especially for a trade paperback. That's like really cool. It's almost like you get to see like the thought process and everything that's gone through it. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the trade. And this cover is sick, but I wanted to ask Steve, your latest cover for Monster Matador that you dropped it was like a day before the campaign. I felt like that Jesus El Carton Pedroza cover.
Yeah, that's the one I ended up going with.
I was like, they're all your covers are always. It's like very hard to choose, but when I saw that one, I'm like, that's the one. I was like,
and then I missed the video for the lenticular, and I'm like, oh, the lenticular one looks really nice too.
That cover is funny. I've been really lucky. Like just every campaign, I'm like, damn, they're all good. Like, that cover, it was supposed to be a different artist doing a painted cover, and he just wasn't able to get it done in time, so it'll probably be for issue 3. But it was very last minute. Jesus did that one, I think, like literally a week and a half ago.
Wow.
And got it colored, everything, you know, just like everything was last minute. And I was just like, just draw whatever you want. I just need a cover. I don't care, you know? I mean, I do care, but you know, I knew it was going to be good, but he decided to do that whole Art Nouveau thing. And I was like, oh wow, this is really cool.
It's insane, and it really goes so well. Like when we put a little Instagram post a day or two ago with the two campaigns next to each other. I feel like they both have like this like nice white together, in the cover. I'm like, they look so good together, like right next to each other. I'm like, those are like perfect, those covers together. And it's just so good. I was like, yes, this is the cover. But like Blake said, you have done trade paperbacks before. There's Volume 1 that has the first two arcs of Monster Matador in there, and a little preview into Once Upon Some Monsters in Mexico. And then I noticed on the campaign page that you mentioned, like, this is obviously Volume 2 with Once Upon Some Monsters in Mexico, Monstradores, and now Blood of the Matador. Is that going to be like is this the entire Volume 2? Is there another like series after this, or
no? It'll probably be Once Upon Some Monsters Mexico. We'll do a collection, and then Blood of the Matador with Monstradors collection. So what happened last year was I was sitting on issues because Fabio was so far ahead. So I did, but also, you know, there was all the talk about tariffs and all this stuff, and a trade campaign would have dropped right around when all that stuff was happening, and I just didn't want to be caught in a position where you know, my books were on the way, and oh, by the way, 25% tariff. You know what I mean? It just
I know. Yeah, that was.
I just don't have.
I know.
You know, I just don't have the margins to afford that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of held off, and it turns out books aren't. I guess they don't apply to books and all this stuff. So, but I haven't. I have to think about it. I haven't really decided if I'm going to put them all together as one big book, which I'm tempted to do, or it's just that. It's just a matter of cost, you know. It's a matter of cost.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, and that's
the bigger the book, the more the cost.
Yeah,
no,
and not only it's shipping and all that other stuff. That's something I was talking about with Blake was, you know, the book I did was 180 pages, and I was like, in hindsight, you know, you want to. I think you really, the sweet spot is like 150 or less. It makes such a huge difference in terms of like shipping, cost, everything. You know, so we'll see. You know,
I mean, that extra 30 pages is basically like another comic getting stuck in there.
Yeah, and cost wise and weight wise and all that stuff, especially because shipping costs have just.
Oh yeah.
Everything keeps getting.
I know, everything's crazy, and then you also have the value perspective from the person. Even though you're providing them with two series, like if you were to do a volume 2 with everything, you're providing them 2 series and a one shot. In their head, they're like, "I'm buying one book. Why does it cost $45?" You know, instead of you buying 2 books for like, you know.
Yeah, it would be more because putting those 2 series in Monstradors would be over 200 pages. And it's really, really like,
it's a hard sell versus doing 2. You know, it's like, oh, okay, like, I'm getting the whole series. You know,
you want to make it where it's an impulse buy as opposed to like, I've got to think about. I got to look at my monthly budget to see.
Once Upon Some Monsters, that was 3 issues, right? Or was it 4? That was also 4.
Yeah, it was also
I don't know
4.
why I thought it was 3. So yeah, that would be 9 issues. That's a lot of comics.
That'd be a
book.
Thick book. It's like
And those first 2 issues were 32 pages each.
So right off the bat, like 60.
And then sometimes you scare people with a page count.
Yeah.
Or they're like, can I read 300 pages? Like.
Yeah. so it's tricky. It's a lot of stuff to have to figure out and balance. One thing I was considering doing is just printing Once Upon Some Monsters and just throwing it into the next campaign or something, and
Yeah, instead of just doing a separate one,
like a shadow drop.
Yeah.
I could see that, man. I mean, I think it would be a popular add-on, or you can just throw it on with a tier, like select your cover, get the
yeah.
So if anyone has an extra few $1,000, they can.
Yeah, no problem, man.
You got it? All right.
No. I'm hurting right now.
No, you said it. You're
it's
good.
the holiday season, man. Oh my God, we gotta get through those first couple of checks of the year, and then we recovered.
Yeah, but I have to. Like when Blake and I were talking. When Blake and I were talking about it, we were talking about print runs.
Yeah.
And I did a 1,000 for that paperback.
Oh wow! All right.
And then I did I think about 150 hardcovers or something with that. And I'm almost actually I'm probably going to have to do another print run in the next year or so.
Wow.
But again, I've been doing a lot of shows and things like that, and those are things that like I live in LA, so I don't have like space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's really a matter of like I need to figure out like, do I do a small run? Or do I do another 1,000 run? And have to carry those books for the next few years as I said. There's a lot of stuff that a lot of variables and things I need to figure out about what makes the most sense.
I mean, it's amazing. Like that's such a feat though that you've moved all those books. Like that's incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome. But at the same time, it's like when you think about, okay, I've got one trade. If I do another trade, and then there's going to be another trade that's $3,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets hefty there.
Yeah.
Well, and it's been great. Like this being the first trade, getting all that advice from you, because that's so much of that. It's funny. Talked about the learning process, and each issue is its own learning process. But then this, even though you're like, cool, I finished it. I finished the story. We're done. Easy. Just got to print it. It's like, no. Now there's all of this you got to learn. All of these other factors you got to consider, like you were saying. And this was my first year doing cons too. So it's like, okay, kind of getting a feel for that. And, it's like, well, yeah, do you want to, if you're printing at a high level, you're almost committing yourself to, for the next however many years, I need to make sure to do shows, because otherwise I'm going to be holding, hundreds of books that are just sitting there, and so it's sort of thinking about, okay, not just, what am I doing for this campaign, but what big picture, like what's the plan moving forward? Is it going to be cons? Are you going to have another way of selling it, a website or whatever? Is there going to be another project down the line that you can offer this for? Like you see a lot of people, that's definitely one thing now that I'm kind of in this position, notice on Kickstarter. And like you said, thinking about, okay, I can print this trade to do with this campaign to offer with this tier, and seeing other people who are like, hey, here's this book, here's this one. It's not related, but it's by the same author, but you can add these trades and just get, sort of everything by this person. And I think that's, again, it's cool because you can kind of decide which way you want to do it, but definitely a lot of factors that you want to think about before committing, however many thousands of dollars to however many books, having to figure out a way to sell them all. So,
yeah. And with single issues, it's easy to just reprint, like I'll print for a year or two, that I know.
Yeah.
But with the trade, like just because of the cost of it, it's not just a viable proposition to just keep printing as you need it, and it is. I remember when we were talking, it's like every question has an answer, and then another question that comes out of that, and then another, it's just, you can just keep going and go. There's just so much stuff you have to and that's again the nice thing about Kickstarter, that that community of creators where everybody is, you can lean on people to get that that advice.
Yeah.
And I made mistakes so that you don't have to, and that's
Yes.
and, that's kind of how you pass it on.
Yeah, well, and that's as as someone who's a little newer who gets to learn from those, it's been it really it changed the way I looked at this campaign. It changed some of my goals, thought processes as far as like what am I aiming for, what do I want to do, what sort of numbers am I looking at, and thinking about that. And like you said, I think that paying it forward, and it's funny, like I'm feeling like, wow, I just finally did the thing. But then you have other, I'm starting to have a couple people come up and ask a couple questions. And one is like, I just figured this out, so I wouldn't,
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, but I also realize, from your position when you haven't done any of it before, or you're just, figuring stuff out, and having, those people be able to answer questions or do that stuff, it does help so much. And so you're not sort of creating problems for yourself without knowing it, and then having to figure it out down the line. So again, I think that's just part of it's been like we've worked together really well, and it just kind of shows, I think, a lot of opportunities with this community.
Yeah, that's one of the great things like about the indie community and just like the kaiju community in general. I mean, there's the fandom, but then there's like the community. The community is like incredible. Like you have your indie comic community, you have your movie community, and like everyone just kind of like lifts each other up, and it's just like if you're doing well, we're doing well, and it's such a like great part about like this whole fandom. Like it's just like great how nice so many people are to each other, especially like creatively, and like there's every fandom has like some issues sometimes, but like in general I think the community is like really a great experience. I mean, we've met so many people since we've started doing this. It's just like mostly positive experience. I've only had one bad experience, but besides that, I mean, everyone's just great to each other, and it's just like we all have the same goal. We want to see like the kaiju like community and influence grow here in the country, and just like projects like indie comics like need the spotlight. It's so cool getting like all these different stories. You don't know where they're gonna go one day. Like one of your comics could be like the next big Hollywood movie. You never know. It's or a TV series like. Both of them honestly have the potential. It's absolutely like from the first time I read Territory, I was like, this could totally be a TV like mini series, and then like Monster Matador is just like blockbuster movies. Like it's just like I love it. I absolutely love that like for this arc, and in Matador you brought back Ford.
Oh yeah,
I was like, yes. Favorite. I was like, this is like the greatest like little like Easter egg you stuck in there, and it just cracks me up seeing him in the helicopter with his little dog pilot. I'm like, it's just so fun. I mean, it's such a fun series. Just all the action and all the little references. Like this arc's been really like cool, like the whole journey of the Matador, and now we're seeing a lot on Adelita and how she's kind of growing, and Nacho Lobo is influencing her, and they're trying to keep her from straying into his ways. Like he's like, I want her to be my legacy, and I think that's just like such like a crazy villainous thing. He's like, I'm gonna take my enemy's daughter and make her my legacy now. Like it's. The way this story's gone is just incredible, and the Matador's resurrection that's happening here is just like such a cool story. I'm still like, are we gonna? I don't want to ask for spoilers here, but are we gonna? What is this traveler here that picked him up at the end of Once Upon Some Monsters in Mexico?
It's
Who
Fabio.
is he?
It's Fabio.
Is it?
Fabio drew himself.
No way.
That's the great thing about being the artist, man. You get to control it. You get to do whatever you want.
It's like, oh my god, his face is always hidden.
It's like we got this cool Clint Eastwood guy. That's gonna be me.
That's exactly what it feels like. He's like very Clint Eastwoody. Yes, it's like
he sent me the page. I was like, Fabio. There will be a small hint of a resolution to that.
It's just such like a cool like another corner of a mystery, and like me and Dan didn't get to talk Monster Matador on the show, but like the whole now origin of the kaiju in the universe, like now we know they've dated back to like ancient times. They didn't kind of just arise now like everyone believed at the beginning of the series, which is also like kind of like a big knowledge bomb that's like got to get circled back to eventually at some point.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have
ideas, but we'll see.
Yeah. Are we gonna get more of them eventually? Do you think there's gonna be other one shots? I mean, they're currently in the Monster Matador comics right now.
Yeah, I have to figure out. I mean, once this series ends, it's gonna kind of put all these pieces into place.
All right, because like I said, this is like some like big endgame stuff going on here right now. It's so massive scale Battle of Helm's Deep going on here.
Yeah. So hopefully we get to keep doing it. But yeah, I've got. I mean, let's see. It's
you can't spoil it.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also with Kickstarter, one of the things too. It's like it's hard to plan out like 2 years ahead, 3 years ahead, and the crowdfunding, it shifts, it changes so quickly. Like you're constantly having to adapt.
Yeah. When's the right time?
And when I started, which was like 2020 as the pandemic hit, it was an indie platform with indie creators. And now, and this isn't a complaint, but now you've got a lot of mainstream stuff coming in. Skybound, you've got G.I. Joe, you've got all these huge, massive projects.
Yeah.
That we're kind of competing against in that space, and a lot of those have huge buy-ins, and so there's obviously a lot going on in the world, the economy, and all that stuff, and I think I've been lucky, and a lot of us have been lucky to be able to keep a pace that we have. But realistically, we have to look at it and be like, people don't have endless budgets or whatever.
Yeah.
And how can I tell these big stories, but also do it in a way where it makes sense,
Yeah.
And the other thing too, like, Blood of the Matador, I could have done 12 issues on, right? But 12 issues in Kickstarter time is like 6 or 7 years, like
you're cranking out.
It's a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I was actually talking about this on a different podcast, which is, I've been doing, I think it's like almost 5.5 years now since we launched the first one. And, keeping an audience for that long is really, it's really good, but it's also kind of like 5 years is a long time in life, right?
Yeah.
And things happen. And I see it on my campaigns. People come in and out, and that's it's great. It's normal. That's kind of like, even if you love Spider-Man, like most people will read Spider-Man for a few years and they love Spider-Man, and then they'll stop for like 10 years because whatever, they had kids, they got married, they got this, they got...
That's exactly what happened with me.
Yeah.
I fell off of comics for a while.
Yeah. So with Kickstarter, you're constantly having to kind of refresh that audience. I mean, you keep people over time too, but again, you have to like account for like, people coming in and out. So it's something I need to think about. And what I did after Apocalypse, I did, that was a 64-page issue, like a one shot, and that was ideally what I wanted to do, like one a year or something, but it just wasn't, it didn't really, there was really no difference in terms of how people backed it. It wasn't like people were fine getting issue 1, 2, 3, 4 as opposed to one complete sort of issue, you know. But that's something I hope when I start to figure out what to do next, we can go back to, you know, maybe do some bigger issues once a year or something, or twice a year at most.
That's a really cool idea, and that's the great thing about like indie comics is like you don't need to be constrained to like a page size necessarily. Like a lot of the times, like sometimes like the like mainstream comics, like you're like, all right, we're doing. They always do like 24 pages, and like they need to cram that story into those 24 pages, and there's no wiggle room. And like sometimes you're reading a comic and you're like, oh, this just feels like they rushed it. Like they're like, all right, now we're just gonna fast forward here. All right, that's the story. Like they don't have that space or wiggle room to make it a complete story. I mean, in their eyes, it's complete, but sometimes as a reader, you're like, what just happened?
Or it can go kind of the other way sometimes, where you feel like they've got to crank something out monthly, so you get like 2 or 3 kind of filler issues, you know. And I know, like, and it was, again, you know, this campaign we talked a lot before we launched it, and a lot of it was me coming to Steve for advice, and it was cool. Like, I think what you said about, you know, because I started probably similar to you ago, 5-ish years, and then you know, and what you said about the kind of the market changing, the, you know, these big companies entering, and these fan bases, and like you said, you got to look at, you know, that our backers are fans of that kind of stuff too, and their limited budgets. And that's something that we talked about a lot, because I was actually planning on launching this last year, kind of in the fall. And then you point out, like, you know, that's when there was, I think it was G.I. Joe or some crazy big, you know, IP. And it's like, you know, like you're just, you know, you got to look at it realistically. It's like, not going to compete with them. And there's sort of, you know, a couple theories of like, okay, this, you know, this raises all ships versus, okay, you know, yeah, it does bring people in, but those people are coming in for that, and everyone else is also going to go and spend their money on that. So, you know, you're competing for whatever's left, sort of thing. And so just having, you know, being able to look at sort of the landscape of it, and decide, you know, where does my book kind of fit in that landscape? And, you know, like you said, doing a 64 page versus a single issue versus a trade, and seeing how people kind of react to that. And, you know, it's interesting because, and another thing, like you said, you build an audience, and you've got to kind of refresh that audience and maintain an audience while also still trying to get a new audience. And it's like, you know, and there's a sweet spot there. You don't have to do it all at the same time, all the time. But, you know, if you're not building any new audience, eventually it's going to kind of fizzle out. But if you're not, you know, maintaining your audience, then you're going to kind of have
fizzle them out.
And so, you know, and we were lucky to come into a time when, you know, people were spending money. Kickstarter was very popular. There was, you know, it was an indie thing. People were looking for sort of these indie creators and stuff. And so we kind of were lucky that we came in and were able to kind of grab some of that fan base. And now it's, I think, even harder to sort of, you know, break into. And so, you know, we're lucky that we have, you know, the ones we do, and the support we do. But it's still like, you know, you also can't just be like, okay, I've got these, you know, fans and it's great, but if I'm just catering to them and not finding anyone new, you know, it's eventually not going to be sustainable, because it's eventually going to kind of dwindle. So I think, you know, trying to build those relationships, to keep your fans happy, to do that, but also to still sort of be aware of what's going on, to be able to adapt, to find new audiences, new things is not easy, but it's, you know, it's important, and it makes it fun. It's stressful, but it's fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's even like running the show here. Sometimes it's like, sometimes we feel like we're burning the candle at both ends. We're just like, we just launched the website last month, and it's working on that, being at work, working on the channel, working on the show. It was just like.
And no one appreciates how much work it is.
No.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and then the holiday season hitting on top of that, and it's like,
that makes everything harder.
Yeah. I was just like, it's too busy.
Yeah.
So many things going on.
Yeah. And one of the things you were talking about, like, you know, doing the time of year, like one of the things I heard was that like like the holiday season is like not a good time at all.
Like don't launch
campaigns.
Like end of year, don't launch.
So yeah, like I think it was good advice Steve gave you there not to launch in the fall because
it's very hard unless you're like really big, like you have a really big audience that you know you're going to bring in. Every time I've launched, I've done it like once or twice during the fall. It's just been a disaster. I mean, I funded, but it's just been a disaster.
A nail biter.
Yeah, a nail biter. Yeah, it's the thing with my book, you know, and again because I had that consistency is that people do drop in and out. They know like okay, I can. So like during especially the holiday season, I think a lot of people are like, well, he'll be back in the spring, so
I'll just get it then.
You know, I'll just. Whereas a lot of projects at that time are like it's the big like collections from you know the mainstream publishers and things like that where you have to get it now. You know. So.
Yeah. Now with the mainstream, like we've kind of like I've kind of cut back on getting the mainstream stuff, and I'll like do digitally, and then maybe I'll get the trade paperback at the end of the run, and or some series I'll just be like I'll just wait for the trade paperback and go that way. But like indie, I feel like you can't do that. But like you're kind of like on a consistent schedule. So I guess some backers, like you said, they'll be like, what, he's gonna be back in the spring. I'll just do the catch up in the spring, get the issue added on. Yeah, no, makes sense. Yeah, totally understandable. So what I know, like Steven, you got so many like action movie references in Monster Matador, and Blake, you obviously got the Godzilla poster behind you. But was there any movies or comics that like kind of like inspired you guys to like put these series together, or your series in general? Like, what was like something that like really made your series like be like, oh, I want to do something like that, but Territory or Monster Matador?
You want to go ahead or
go for it?
You want me?
I put you on the spot first.
I'm sorry, guys.
I mean, I just love action movies, and it's weird. Like I think for Matador, like it was just a whole mix of influences. Like obviously action movies, Mad Max, stuff like that. The Sergio Leone westerns. But also like telenovelas that kind of like the melodrama and things like that, especially when I was drawing the book. But it's really just it's really for me like this book has become like everything but the kitchen sink, and it's kind of nice because it's been really flexible. It's been a really flexible concept in that. It can kind of like sneak stuff in, and it can kind of be all these different things. So yeah.
Yeah, no, you could totally see, especially after reading like the original, like your original run that you illustrated and everything, like. I have like such like an appreciation for the series now after reading those original comics. I'm like, like just like the continuity, like it flows. Like those original 12, you could read those and it goes into this series like perfectly.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I mentioned to you guys, but the original plan was to kind of remaster those issues.
Yeah, and what is it? 12 issues, right?
12.
It's a lot of issues to remaster.
Yeah. Well, but the problem is that the original artist that I had in mind for the book was more kind of artistic style that would have been closer to like what I was doing. But Fabio is it's like night and day,
Yeah.
Obviously, we incorporate a lot of elements from that, and it still is the continuity of it.
Yeah.
But at some point, I've got to figure out when I have some time to figure out how to kind of either kind of. I mean, I might just. I don't know. Part of me wants to.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm like, I'm just gonna redraw the thing myself, and
like,
so maybe
you really did such a good job, man. I mean, you did a great job on the art.
Thanks. I got better as I went along. But so that started as just an exercise. It was never meant to be
Yeah.
anything, and I just kept going with it because I had kids and I needed something to do, and but I put myself to a thing where I had to do a page a day, and those sometimes I would only have like a few hours because I had babies and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So it was
No,
really
that's
just kind of like
understandable.
pushing myself. But one day I'll figure something out.
Maybe like you could do like an abridged version and like do them like as like a little like post mini comic at the end of the issue, in a way, or something like that.
Well, the thing I've always wanted to go back to is because when I started it, I was writing to what I could draw. So those first few are they're pretty simplistic in a sense. They're and I've always wanted to go back and redo the Matador's origin, because I have this great kind of like idea for that story, and I just don't know. I don't know. I'll figure it out.
All right. Yeah. I mean, like you said, you have so many ideas and plans for where you want it to go.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a concept that it's just you can kind of go anywhere with it, and every time, there are things that probably most people you wouldn't notice, but there are seeds in all these. Every issue, there's like stuff where I'm like, oh, okay, now I can like this is enough. Like I've got like so many
callbacks,
different ways it can go. Yeah,
and
I just need money and time.
Always more of both would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, how about you, Blake? What inspirations were Territory about?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like Steve. I don't think I necessarily had like a specific. I can't point to a specific series or a specific. I mean, obviously, like Kaiju, Godzilla, all that. Is obviously like sort of the main part. I think I've talked to you guys about before. When I was looking at doing this, I knew I looked at what I liked and what kind of comic I wanted to create, and I liked post-apocalyptic worlds and kaiju. And I was like, okay, and that again, that feels like it marries together pretty naturally, and so it's just kind of like those two things. So I don't have like a specific one. Fallout is big as far as like the post-apocalyptic world building and Fallout. I just love the scope and again all the like little stories and stuff like that, and try and take inspiration of not necessarily what happened in those or their sort of thing, but the idea of like kind of like you said, being able to plant seeds and have these little details. And that was definitely one thing really interesting was I had, the first issue, I was like, oh, we'll kind of add this little detail and this little detail, and we'll get back to it. And some of that stuff I just never came back to. And I wish like going back, and again, I think a lot of that was not having an editor, not having it all planned out, and sort of, looking back and having written a full series now, I'm like, okay, next time I would want to map things out so I could actually, either put things and deliver on them or not include them so they're not just sort of like these loose threads. But, I think it's fun trying to think of like adding those little details and adding those sort of ideas that kind of bring the world to life. And even if you don't necessarily follow up on them, it's, if it shows that there's some other things going on, even if it's not explained, that kind of leaves it up to interpretation. So I think just, sort of those big type of worlds. And then obviously all the different kaiju media, this was one I actually hadn't played it when I started writing, but Horizon Zero Dawn just kind of had a lot of similar themes, and when I played it I was like, this is kind of like a weird sort of Territory-esque robot thing. It was a lot very similar but also different. I hadn't played it and I wasn't just stealing all the ideas, but then going through I was like, this all lines up pretty closely. So I think it's just kind of so a variety of things and just more knowing sort of what genres and ideas I liked, and then probably having all those things in the back of my head and just kind of pulling from different sources as it goes. So that's, I think that's mostly it for Territory.
No, that's awesome. And it's so funny because I didn't really play Horizon that much. I played it a little, like, with the kids and everything. It's like I wanted to play it, but then it just too much time to bury into the
Yes.
game, so I
Yes.
didn't have the chance to finish it. And it's like I've tried to go back to it like 3 times, and it's just like not happening. It's
Yeah.
a great game, great universe, but
It
it's
took me like
very
3 or
similar.
4 tries where I would like start it, and I don't know if it was like if it has a like slow start or what, but like three or four times of trying it and then just not, and then I finally did finish it. And I was like, that was actually really cool. But then, and and like Steven said, I think a lot of movies too. I like especially sort of the kind of old sci-fi type of movies, like the kind of 50s 60s, like kind of the cheesy stuff, but a lot of the concepts in there, I think when you kind of strip back some of the cheesy effects and stuff for the time, a lot of those were like very high concept as far as like usually the monsters represented something, or there was something we did that caused it. And so a lot of those sort of concepts of sort of what our impact is, sort of having to deal with those sort of consequences, how do people respond, and all that kind of stuff. A lot of those sort of themes were definitely big big influences as well.
They're really cool. I mean, 2 great series. Dan, I didn't. I've been stealing all the.
No, it's okay. I know you get to.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to. I didn't know if you wanted to go on to the next question. I don't want to.
Yeah, no, it's just it's been really good. You talking earlier about doing the cons. You've been hitting those up, having to do like probably a new print run soon to keep up with that. What is it like going to those cons? And like, I know Blake, you said that you had like your first, what, it was 1 or 2 this year that you,
like 3 technically.
Yeah. Oh, 3 last year. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. 1 was very small, but
yeah. Like, how is it going to that? Like, we've gone, I think we go to like 1 or 2 a year. We try to attend, but it's, pretty hard for us to get the time to go. And, we're always looking for books and stuff, and sometimes you do find a really nice polished book and you're like, oh wow, like how have I not heard about this guy or anything like that. And other times like they're just not so polished. So like knowing like the way you guys, like your books are, like they're like super polished and like ready to go, like I don't, how is it doing those cons, like where it's like
I mean, I think it's interesting, especially, this being my first time. I didn't know necessarily what to expect. And it was kind of a tale. Like, so there were 2 cons I did really well at and I really enjoyed. One was the Denver Fan Expo, I think it's called, the like big Denver Comic Con. They do the ones across the country. And then one was up in Fort Collins, which is northern Colorado, where Colorado State is. But so it was like a much smaller con. But the Denver one, I mean, it was huge, tons of people, all that. And it was cool because like there's a lot going on. They got the celebrities, and the big, they got big creators, and it's very much it's very much a pop culture. It used to be a Comic Con, but now it's as much or more about the movies and that kind of stuff. And then like manga and anime is huge, and like that was probably more than half of that, which is cool. But like it was just definitely something where it was like it was getting people's kind of attention was hard. Because there's so much stuff and most people are there for whatever they're a fan of, which is a big thing. They're there to see whatever, and there's not a lot of people that were necessarily there like just for comics, and especially the smaller comics. And I still, I was fortunate. I did well. It was cool. I met some cool creators, met some cool people, sold some books, and it was really awesome. But it was definitely eye-opening as to like, still very much a very small fish in a big pond. And no matter how much kind of promotion and, like even though have had some success on Kickstarter, it's not, it's a drop in the bucket of sort of what's going on generally. The other one though was a much smaller con, but it was more focused on sort of the indie creators and stuff. And that one was cool, did really well there too. And just the feel of people coming and looking for those books. And again, getting to meet other creators and stuff, some of which who I had either met before or got their stuff, but some of whom, again, like you guys said, are producing these really cool, high quality books that I never heard of. And it's like, you feel like it's a small world, and then you go and you meet people and you see new stuff that you're like, how, how have I not heard of this if I'm so, if I think I'm so tapped into this. And so I think it's an interesting, it's a good thing of like, it sort of reminds you of like, hey, this is still essentially, it's a passion project. You're working on something. You've got some people that, are supporting you, but you're still, there's still always a lot of people out there who haven't, who you can still kind of reach and try to find. But at the same time, it's, you don't, like, if you're going in thinking that you're going to be this huge, sort of like, oh yeah, it's going to be this next, movie or series or anything. Like, it's not realistic, and that's okay. So don't, don't try to make it something it's not. Do what you can do and make it, what you want to make it. And then people will appreciate that part of it.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I've done a lot of different shows, and every show has its own kind of personality. Some shows are great for indie comics and things like that. And I do San Diego Comic-Con, which is just insane,
Yeah, I'm sure.
And the first year I did it, it was the strike. So there were no celebrities there.
Oh.
And it was fantastic because people were just, it was like,
they were actually there for comics.
I mean, it was great. And I mean, I've done great at that show. And it's, a lot of it too, like, if you have a professional looking book, it helps, right? But it's, a lot of it is just, what I find is a lot of people really are supportive of indie creators. They want you, they want new things, and if it looks cool to them, they'll grab it.
Yeah.
I do a show called Monster Palooza, which is it's a horror monster show, and that show is my best show behind San Diego. And it's an awesome community, and there's only about like a half dozen of us comic book people there, and it's, we're so focused on the comic stuff, you forget, like, most people don't know this stuff exists, right?
Yeah.
And they just love monsters, man. They just love that stuff, and they're like, oh, this looks cool, but it's cool. Like, it's good to get out there and do shows. It also helps you just work on your pitch. My pitch, I always tell, my pitch now is just Matador versus Kaiju, and you're either get it or you die. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't really sell it more than that.
Yeah. So, sometimes it's really nice to keep it simple like that, man. Because, like, we go to, like Dan said, we go to, like, about maybe 2 to 3 shows a year. Last year, we only really did Kaiju Brooklyn, and our annual Terrificon trip, which is a convention in Connecticut at Mohegan Sun Casino. It's basically my bachelor party anniversary every year now, because that's the way my bachelor party was. So we just go to the casino with the boys for a weekend, and we hit the convention. But that convention is very heavily comic focused. They do have a ton of celebrities, but one of the big things about that convention, it is very, very, like, they pride themselves on being
I would say about half of it
a comic
is
convention.
Like artist alley, like creator section.
Yeah.
And like I'd say the other half's like vendor, like maybe 40% vendors and like 20% celebrity.
Yeah.
Like it's like it's a really good mix. I think it's bigger every year. Like they added like an extra room this year, so it's like
it's a really good convention, but sometimes like, I know I get people need to pitch their comics, like I found Monster Matador because of Blake. I think he mentioned it, like, as we're saying, with cross promoting, and I think it was the second, it was one of them. I came on like right before Once Upon Some Monsters in Mexico, and I was like so mad at myself. I was like, how did I like miss all of this?
But there's so much. There's so much.
There is so much.
Why,
but
that's why the cross.
Yeah.
That's why the cross promo stuff. That's why like it's so
that's
important.
So it is. It really is.
And be on a platform where nothing is succeeding, right? So like I mean, I think Kickstarter comics are like,
Yeah.
in terms
Yeah.
of projects backed, I think is their most successful. I think it's something like 82% or something like that of projects. And a
Yeah.
lot of the ones, honestly, that don't
Yeah.
get funding, you
Yeah.
can kind of see why. And I don't mean that in a mean way, but like, you're really, listen, it's not like, it's not the
true.
Wild West anymore, that it used to be. And you really need to, you really need to have a plan, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You need to promote. You really need the community push, because like sometimes like I've seen some. I'm like, oh, this looks pretty cool, but I have absolutely never heard of it. And like they'll have like such a short goal, and it's like, and it just sits there. Like I'll watch it and I'll be like, why? It's just sitting there, and then I'll like look up like the creator.
Yeah, I've seen stuff without
like,
any
no
preview pages, nothing.
self-promotion,
just like $10,000 goal. Like, basically, give me money so I can make this, and it's just not. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely over the years we've had a few fair share of projects that we've like tried to promote, and we're just like looking at them like, oh man, that goal they put is kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, listen, I'd love to do. I'm sure we both love to do 10,000.
Yeah.
But it's. It's you also like what I always tell, and we talked about it too with the trade, but I always tell people when they're starting Kickstarters, like you've got to run the numbers, right? And a lot of that is like, how many backers do you think you're going to get realistically, right? Are you coming in from like, you have a mainstream comic, maybe you'll be at like 400. If you're like me, or you'll be at about 150, 200. If you're brand new and you got 100 backers, that's fantastic. But if 100 backers are spending, on average $25 or $30, that's $3,000. So if you set your campaign for 10,000, you're going to have problems. So it's something like, we're not really as writers, creators, we're not really trained to think that way, Yeah.
You want to be excited and you want to be passionate, but
right.
you gotta temper that with reality.
Exactly.
Like you said, you gotta actually look, and that's where, and again, I think that's where the community aspect is so important. Is like you guys are saying, we've all seen the campaigns where it's like, yeah, this sounds kind of cool, but they obviously have no real idea how to get there. Like it's a hope and a dream, which it is for all of us, but that's where this community, it's like, if you really if you're really invested in more than just sort of, I think this is cool. If you're invested in like, no, I really want to make this happen, the community's there, and there are people that will help you, and you can reach out, and people will they'll point these things out to you. They'll give you, here's sort of what you need. Here's like sort of the baselines to get you started. And, so I think that's where it's like, coming in, you got to be able to sort of, look at, you can't just come in and blindly do it. You got to look at what the people who are having success are doing. Most of them will talk to you if you reach out, and that helps you kind of actually, come up with, hey, here's a realistic way to do it versus just, like you said, just give me money and I'll make it happen, which it's just not a good enough sell, And so I think that's where, being able to talk to other creators and stuff, and having this community, it's such a great resource that you got to take advantage of.
Give me money. People give them money, and then it never happens. That was early Kickstarter. That was a lot of,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Kickstarter itself is just, I mean, we've talked about, like, it's not a platform for, it is still a platform for little guys, but like it's it's a platform for everybody now. Like you look at like the board game campaigns are crazy. They do like millions of dollars, and some of these like novel. So it's like some of these campaigns and these companies and stuff that are doing it. It's like established people with resources, marketing experience, all this kind of stuff. So you're
making them
getting
like premium editions almost now.
Exactly, like, and you're getting like fully polished projects that's just used this different marketplace, and that makes it harder when you don't have those resources or that knowledge, and you have to try to compete with that. But at the same time, there's also that opportunity of kind of being able to say, you know what, we're not those guys, but we're also not limited like they are. Like we can do our thing, and we'll give you, like, what we're giving you is what we want. We're not answering, we're not answering anybody. So here's our thing. We're giving it to you because we like it, and we want to give it to you the way that, we think it should be. And, I think that there's always going to be those fans that's what they want. They're like, this is the real vision. This is the real thing. And it may not be polished. It may not have this or that, but it's got, at its core, it's got what I want. And I think that's really the strength of it, and why, the indie scene is able to thrive so well, even sort of now having been kind of competing with a lot of things that weren't always there.
Yeah, no, definitely. So far, I mean, these two campaigns are doing absolutely fantastic. And let me just do like a quick little refresh. I was like, I have like the pages up, and I'm like, yeah, they're doing great. I feel like by the time this is uploaded,
I'm
it's
sure
you
guys have the pages up.
It's like every time
you
I
guys
run
like
one,
incessantly check it
once. I'm not gonna look at it, and then I'm looking at it. My wife's like, "Why are you always?" I'm like, "I'm running the Kickstarter."
And then you
look at it. Gotta look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gotten like a little better for me, but it's still like, cause same thing. Yeah. When you go and you're like, I'm just going to let it ride. I'm not going to worry about it. And then, you're just sitting there for a minute.
What else do
like,
I have to do?
I'll check in.
It doesn't hurt to look.
And then you're like,
but I'll like first thing in the morning.
12th time I've done that today. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's.
Yeah.
Yep. That's where we at now.
No,
You guys look like you're on track for another set of 2 successful campaigns. So I'm really hyped for you guys. Love these books, and like I said, love seeing you guys succeed. I mean, did you guys have anything else that you wanted to plug? I know, like, Blake, do you have any cons coming up this year?
So I'll be at the Denver Fan Expo again, and then I'll be at the Fort Collins one again. Those are the only 2 on the books for now, but definitely going to try to find more of the kind of smaller cons, because those are a lot of fun. So
and absolutely, and everyone's got to pick up that trade paperback. Get it on Kickstarter. Don't wait for those cons.
Yes,
exactly.
I am very excited. That's definitely one thing in talking to people.
It changes. Having a trade.
It's like single issues is rough. Like,
once I had my trade, it changes everything, right? It really does. You'll see a difference once you have that.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for that to just be like, you want the thing, here's the whole thing, all of it, just buy this and you get it all, and so I'm excited this year, and going into it with an idea of what to expect more, as well. I think will be good, so I'm excited.
Yeah. And then Steven, of course, we got the Monster Matador campaign going on right now, and we got 2 more issues to come.
I have a project coming out in March,
projects
which
coming
is
on
completely separate from Monster Matador. It's called Mercy in Prison. It's a one-shot love letter to exploitation films of the 70s. It takes place in 1975, and it's going to be a series of one-shots following this character, Mercy Hansen, as she tracks down the guy that got her sent to a Filipino prison. And, of course, there are monsters involved. In the first one, she gets sent to prison. She wants to get out. But at the same time, there's an Aswang, which is like a Filipino vampire that's in the prison, too, that wants revenge. So she's got to fight her way out against this monster. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
that sounds really fun. That sounds absolutely fun. I'm gonna definitely.
And then I've got a
keep an
bunch
eye
of
out for
shows.
that.
I'm doing Pasadena Con
And
at the end of the month. The Latinx Comics Expo in March. I've got Monster Palooza in May and San Diego in July, and then probably other shows too. I just haven't. I'm trying to cut back.
Yeah, no.
But I got to get rid of those trades.
Yeah, no, it's like you said, it's a lot of work. I mean, plus Yeah, you gotta move those trades, and
well, it helps
you gotta
because
make more
honestly,
Matador too.
the campaigns don't actually pay off the whole
you got
book.
2 more issues of Matador.
I make up for it at shows, and then that helps helps keep everything moving along. Like literally, all the money just goes back to Fabio and Alex. It's just totally skips me. It's all right.
Well, there goes. Yeah, no, but we're really excited for these campaigns, guys, and we really appreciate you guys coming on the show and talking about what it's like making these comics that we love. And looking forward to reading more. And
nice to visually meet Blake. We talked a lot and emailed a lot, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we ran camps almost all of our.
For the first time.
I think maybe one I wasn't running one, but we've run kind of parallel most of your campaigns. So.
Very close,
yeah. Yeah, definitely. No, it's been cool, and like I said, and it was cool kind of talking before this one, like you said, doing the thing that we never do, where we actually talk ahead of time and are like, hey, we can do this together and help each other. And it's like, yeah, it actually makes sense. So it was cool. And then you guys always help boost us up and support us and get the word out there. And and it's always the hardest thing is screaming into the void and hoping someone listens. So having people who are willing to help with you and
helps
help get that out there is just so huge. So thank you.
We're like, when we're running a Kickstarter, we're just annoying as all hell because it's I mean, I know I'm great, but it's nice when someone else can say that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Like I said, we want to see the community succeed, so that's why we're always shouting into the void too.
Very much.
We're like, check this out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No. Yeah, and we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much again. And I hope you guys enjoyed coming on and talking with each other and us. And until next time.
All right. See you.
See you.